The logic side of this lesson, drawing and supporting conclusions. There are two particular laws of logic, and they're somewhat common sense, so very strange words for some very common sense ideas. If you're given some true conditional statement, and the hypothesis occurs, then the conclusion will happen. Here's another example one you've already heard. Suppose it's true that I make the statement, if I find $20 in the street, then I'll take you to the movies. This is true. If this is true, then every single time I find $20 in the street, I'm going to take you to the movies. That would have to happen for this to be a true statement. So say on October 10th, I find $20 in the street. Logic would tell us, I'm going to go take you to the movies. That is what we call law of detachment. Law of syllogism was more of a connecting of statements, a series of statements. If you have two or more conditional statements, the conclusion of the, if you have two or more conditional statements and the conclusion of the first statement is the hypothesis or beginning of the second, then you can put them together with the beginning of the first statement to go to the end of the second statement. With symbols, that's a little bit easier. If some statement P goes to Q, but then that statement Q is leading to R, then we can conclude that the beginning P will lead to R. You may recall this as the transitive property. An example. If it rains today, then we will not go to a picnic. If it rains today, then we will not have a picnic. But the next sentence, if we do not have a picnic, we will not see our friends. So an example. It rains today is a statement that led to we will not have a picnic. But then that hypothesis, we will not have a picnic, leads us to another idea, we will not see our friends. So if yellow leads to blue and blue leads to green, then you would expect that yellow would lead us to green. We will not have, whoops, that was supposed to be green. Give me green. We will not see our friends. This is what we call the law of syllogism. Looking at the validity of sentences, whether it's true or false. If we have a conditional statement that's true, and let's assume this is true. If it's a cow, then it eats grass. If that original statement is true, what about the contrapositive of this sentence? And that would state, if it does not eat grass, then it's not a cow. This also would be a true sentence. Every example of something that does not eat grass, you couldn't point to it and say it is a cow with a counterexample. Again, if this is true, then the contrapositive must be true. So if you're given a statement such as P then Q, then you have the ability to rewrite that statement in this format, the contrapositive. So, as an exercise, what if you're given three statements? And you're asked to put them together using the law of syllogism, the transitive property. Well, first, these three statements don't piece together, but if you consider the contrapositive of each statement, then we can piece them together using three of these. If we start with W, where do we end? So, find W, W is here, and follow the chain of reasoning. If W concludes to not S, and not S concludes to not R, and not R concludes to M, then we must say the law of syllogism concludes W to M. Some clarification on Lesson 2-2. Thank you.